Who do you got going to the Super Bowl? I have the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. That was the pick that I made a couple of weeks ago when we started breaking this down right before the wild card round. And you guys thought I was crazy, thought I was kind of a lunatic, mainly because of some of the picks I had made earlier in the season. But wild card week, we were 2-2. We like the Titans to beat the Patriots, but we did lose out on both NFC contests because we didn't see the Vikings. We didn't see that other team. Who was it? The Packers? The Seahawks. We didn't see them advancing. But last week we were 3-1, of course, missing on the Tennessee Titans. And the fans have been super delightful about it. No, wait, they haven't. They've not only, I didn't realize they were going after Kate. They're now going after Colleen and me. Like, you guys, settle down. You're having a nice run here in the playoffs. Don't ruin it by trying to be the worst fans in the NFL. Because a lot of people have already said stuff like that. I don't want you to go out and prove it. I know there's a lot of good Titan fans out there. Don't let those other people ruin it for you, because this team is playing absolutely incredible. I guess that's the one way to put it. Now, of course, I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game, but let's give a little bit of love to the Titans and point out they are the third team in NFL history to knock off the number one scoring offense, who were the New England Patriots, number one scoring defense, who were the Baltimore Ravens. The last two teams to do that, I think it was 98 and 2004. In 98, that would have been, who was it in 98? I got to go back and look. Oh, it was the San Francisco 49ers, and forgive me, that was 1988. And of course, in 2004, New England Patriots went on to do that. Both of those teams went on to win the Super Bowl. And listen, I don't think that the Tennessee Titans are going to win this game because I think the Chiefs are just a better team. But you cannot take anything away from what the Titans have been able to do, especially since Ryan Tannehill has become the quarterback of this team. And I know a lot of Titan fans like to come in and be like, well, you thought they would. Yeah, I did. That's exactly what I thought. And the coaches, they came to the same conclusion as me, because when they were 2-4, they finally benched Marcus Mariota, got A.J. Brown into the offense, something that I didn't anticipate. I can't sit there and make those kind of predictions. Perhaps I should have. But Ryan Tannehill has been playing really remarkable. And we got to be honest, too. When we're making predictions during the year, I'm making predictions based on the fact that Andrew Luck was the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. Nick Foles was not hurt. Jalen Ramsey was not traded, was not a malcontent at that point, did not want to get out of Jacksonville, wasn't sick of Tom Coughlin yet. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't injured. There were a lot of things. The Chargers weren't losing close games at the beginning. There's a lot of things that happens, a lot of things that change. But whatever. Congratulations to you. You're in the AFC Championship game. You've been playing well. You're not actually having Ryan Tannehill throw the ball a lot. I know it's really hurting the running backs don't matter crowd that Derrick Henry has absolutely put this team on his back. And as a matter of fact, the last time a running back was this instrumental in getting a team this far, you have to look back at Terrell Davis and what he was able to do for the John Elway-led Denver Broncos of the late 90s. Derrick Henry is on a similar pace. As a matter of fact, if he tops 100 yards, he's going to set the all-time mark. And actually, it's probably not even that much. I think it's somewhere in the 60s. So Derrick Henry is having one of the most impressive playoff stretches in NFL history. And I look at that team, and I watch the way that they play. They play old school football. Mike Vrabel could become the 9th coach in NFL history to reach the Super Bowl as a player and as a coach. Of course, some of the more notable guys, Tony Dungy, Mike Ditka, obviously, Tom Flores, who did not get into the Hall of Fame. I know this isn't what this is about. Tom Flores deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It is an absolute joke. We can talk about that in a little bit. But I just want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs for a moment. And this is why I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback of this team, they're averaging more than 37 points per game with him as the signal caller. What we saw last week against the Houston Texans was mind-blowing. Now, it did seem kind of Andy Reid-esque for that team to fall out of favor, fall behind by so much, and start imploding. You're like, this is going to happen to the Chiefs again. This is really going to happen to the Kansas City Chiefs. Poor Andy Reid can never buy a break. He's one of the best coaches in NFL history, but he's really going out like this again. But Patrick Mahomes rescued him. And as a matter of fact, it kind of reminds me of what Marty Schottenheimer went through. Chargers went 14-2. Was what? What year was that? So it was 14-2. It was in the 2000s. Was it 2006? Yeah, it would have been the 2006 season. Chargers, 14-2. They have the New England Patriots down. They should have won that game. Marlon McCree makes an interception. Troy Brown knocks the ball out of his hands. This, that, and the other. Things go awry. Marty Schottenheimer loses that opportunity. Now, if Marty Schottenheimer had gotten the Chargers to the AFC Championship game, where they would have played host to the Indianapolis Colts, they would have destroyed them by 50, because they finally would have gotten over the hump. Then they would have gone on and played the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl. Who knows what would have happened? Schottenheimer could have ended up, you're going against Rex Grossman. Peyton Manning beat him. Why couldn't Phillip Rivers? The point is that there's certain moments that can go either way. If Marlon McCree doesn't fumble that ball, the Chargers probably go on to win a Super Bowl. Similarly, Andy Reid should be out of the playoffs right now. They're down 24 in the first half, but you know what? They have somebody special on that team, Patrick Mahomes. They are averaging close to 40 points per game as an offense. And listen, I know the Tennessee Titans have played some good defense. They've got Adoree Jackson's one of the top-rated corners, but you know what? This is the thing, is I'm just not sure. I love what the Titans are doing. But the Titans could be in a very similar situation to what the Ravens found themselves in last week. Is that if you get into a game and you're run-based and everything is predicated on the run, when you fall behind, and there's a good chance that the Titans fall behind quickly in this one, do you have the firepower to come back and win that game? If the Chiefs kind of take a page from the New England Patriots, remember what the New England Patriots did? They said, you know what? We're going to let Derrick Henry go out and do his thing. They let Derrick Henry run up and down the field. They weren't scoring touchdowns. For as many points, as many yards as Derrick Henry was going out there and putting up in that wild card game against the New England Patriots, they weren't scoring a lot of points. And if the Chiefs, if Spagnuolo just looks and says, listen, we're going to let Derrick Henry do his thing. You know what, though? We're going to keep him out of the end zone. We're going to turn the offense loose. We're going to get out to a huge lead. We're going to take Derrick Henry out of the game, even though he can catch the ball out of the backfield. We saw some nice plays from him as a receiver this year. I think there was like a 90-yard touchdown against the Browns earlier this year. I think that was week 1, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken. I think that the Chiefs are going to game script this one. They're going to get out to that lead. They're going to force the Titans to do something they haven't had to do all postseason, and that's throw the football. And I know that Ryan Tannehill has been playing very well, and I am not taking anything away from him. But to me, once you put the Titans in that position, then they can just take away A.J. Brown and say, beat us with one of the other guys. You're going to beat us with Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis? I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much offense for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is why I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. This is why I picked them to beat the Ravens. I thought that the situation the Ravens were in last week was going to be the situation they found themselves in this week. The Ravens were ripe for the picking. The Titans were the ones who got in there first, like, hey, we did it. Okay, fine. But now you're going to find yourself in that same position, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they overwhelm them. I think this is probably going to be, it'll be close for a while. The final score might not be indicative of how close the game was, but I do believe that the Chiefs are going to be able to score. They're just going to overwhelm them. They are going to be my pick for the Super Bowl. Now on the NFC, as you guys accept. Now I know you Titan fans will be like, well, you hate the Titans. Here's the thing. I don't care. I literally don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care about the team you were rooting for 3 months ago before you jumped on the Titans bandwagon. I just don't care. I care when you leave homophobic and other sort of inflammatory messages on my Facebook page that my wife reads. Like, that's a little much. That's what I care about. But win or lose, listen, I'm just calling the game as I see it. I've always called the games as I've seen it. I picked you guys to win over the New England Patriots. Yeah, of course I picked the Ravens. I'm sorry that I picked the team that went 14-2. We're the number 1 seed in the AFC. My mistake. I shouldn't have picked them. But I'm picking the Chiefs this week. So you can, hey, listen, I'm 50-50 on you guys so far. So I don't know how you should feel about that. And you guys have bounced out anyways. Let's talk about the Packers and the 49ers. And I could sit here and make some jokes about Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going to keep it classy. And I'm going to keep it factual. Okay, maybe one joke. The only person Aaron Rodgers wants to see less. No. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. You know the joke. You can probably think about it. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, every time you watch these shows, you will see it. They'll be like, well, of course, the Packers have the advantage at quarterback. Do they? Do they? Now, Aaron Rodgers is obviously one of the best quarterbacks of his generation. Jimmy Garoppolo has played in 27 games. He started 27 games, I believe it is. He's won 22 of them. Still not considered in Aaron Rodgers' class, and that's fair. He's got to do it a couple more years before he gets. And I think 49er fans, we could all agree, that's going to take a little bit of time before he gets to that point. But when you're looking at this matchup, I don't think that you look at Rodgers versus Jimmy Garoppolo and just say, well, this is automatically in the Packers' favor. Because I don't believe that for a second. I really don't. First of all, Aaron Rodgers is not a good road quarterback. He is absolutely fantastic at home, especially in the winter. When it's snowing, he does a great job. Doesn't turn the ball over. Amazing at home. On the road, meh. It's true. Listen, I'm not trying to be funny. When he's going up against the number 1 pass defense in the playoffs, he's 1-4. Oh, wait, who has the number 1 pass defense? Oh, that's right. The San Francisco 49ers. So again, I'm not saying this as a hater. I'm not saying this as a guy who will be openly rooting against Aaron Rodgers as a Bears fan. No, listen, I'm just saying he's 1-4 against the number 1 defense when he's in the playoffs. That's just a fact. We can break down his State Farm commercials and say whether they're garbage or brilliant. We don't listen. That's subjective. This is not. That's what the numbers say. And I know, and my friend Aaron Nagler, who's a great guy, and if you're a Packers fan and you don't know, first of all, I don't know how you wouldn't know who he is. He does a great job covering the Packers. And he was sitting there today on Twitter talking about everybody's kind of placing too much on what happened earlier in this season. Because what happened 2 months ago doesn't really factor in to what is going to happen this week. And he's right in a sense. He is correct. Now, a couple of months ago, the San Francisco 49ers exposed the Packers on Sunday Night Football. It was embarrassing. They held them to 8 points. Devontae Adams did get a touchdown, but they held them to 8 points. It was not great. It was not a great performance. It was great for me. I enjoyed watching it. And I thought Aaron Rodgers would do well. Because what are the things that San Francisco does really well? They get to the quarterback. They force turnovers. 2 things that Aaron Rodgers doesn't do. Doesn't get sacked. Doesn't turn the ball over. So I thought that he would have more than a fighting chance against that 49ers team. It didn't work out that way. And that was without Quan Alexander and Dee Ford. The 49ers they go from a pretty damn good defense to a great defense when those 2 guys are there. We saw what they did to Kirk Cousins. So, again, what happened a couple of months ago doesn't matter now. You're absolutely correct. You're not wrong. But I will say this. Of Aaron Rodgers' last 5 playoff losses, they have come to teams that have beaten them in the regular season. That means in rematches, he is 0 for his last 5. Now, you can look at that and be like, those games don't matter, but it shows a little bit of a trend. And when you have a quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't take a lot of chances too. And I think he's going to have to take a lot of chances against the 49ers because that is an offense that definitely gets the most out of everybody. And that is the one thing that kind of strikes me. You look at Aaron Rodgers. He's got to go to Devontae Adams. And if Devontae Adams is not open, he doesn't know what to do. Now, he's done a better job of getting it to Aaron Jones. And the 49ers, if they did have a weakness on the defensive side of the football, it's stopping the run. So maybe if the Packers went out there and established a run with Aaron Jones, perhaps that could give them a little bit of leverage, a little bit of leeway that could help them out. But if the 49ers are successful in taking away Davante Adams, forcing them to be even more one-dimensional, they could be in a lot of trouble. Whereas the 49ers attack you in a variety of different ways. You know, sometimes it's George Kittle, sometimes it's Kyle Juszczyk, sometimes it's Emmanuel Sanders. Last week, James Coe on his Twitter feed said, hey, look, Kyle Shanahan is one of the best at exploiting mismatches. Watch out for Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne scored the first touchdown of the game. Excellent call. So you look at this, and you start to see that the 49ers are taking advantage of all their available resources. Their defense is better. Their running attack is more consistent. I don't know how you pick against the 49ers. Something dramatic would have to happen. What we would have to have happen is that Aaron Rodgers would have to become somebody that he is not. Because as great as he is, and he makes plays, and he does these little things that just annoy you as a fan of the opposing team. But in a situation like this, it's very Kershaw-esque. In a situation like this, where he is going up against an opponent where he appears to be overmatched, he never seems to get this team over the top. Oh, now when it's October and he's going up against the Detroit Lions, he'll crush that team. If there is an inferior team that has a lead on the Packers, that team is in trouble. He will take advantage of them, but I just cannot think, and this is probably more anecdotal, and a Packer fan could probably point out that I'm wrong and I'm being biased against this team. But whenever it feels like the Packers are overmatched, I just don't imagine Rodgers like, well, Rodgers brought this terrible team, overcame the odds, and they won. Because I think a lot of his teams have been great. I think a lot of people will point back to the Super Bowl that he did win and be like, there he was overmatched. Like, I don't know that the Steelers were that much better. I think the Packers over the last 30 years have been disrespected because everybody has lauded their quarterback so much that they're not giving a lot of love to the defense. This is why Leroy Butler doesn't get into the Hall of Fame. This is why you look at that secondary for the Packers has been amazing. Tramon Williams this year, Jair Alexander you would expect, but Tramon Williams is playing awesome. Like, that guy's 36. He's a young bunk out there now. So I don't know. I look at this and I look at, listen, Aaron Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's going to win another ring. I don't think he's going to win this game. And when you look at the coaches, which coach do you trust? Kyle Shanahan, a guy that was born and bred to be an NFL head coach, or Matt LaFleur, guy who once liked one of Sean McVay's Instagram posts and, we'll hire you then. When he was in Tennessee last year, they did nothing. I mean, Derrick Henry got loose towards the end of the season. To me, I don't see it being like, I don't even see it being close. I think the AFC game can be close. The weather could impact that a little bit, but now when you're out in the sun or conditions that are about as perfect as they can be, especially this time of year in Santa Clara, excuse me, I don't think it's going to be close. I think the afternoon game is going to be one where we're like, why couldn't Seattle have won? Like, I'm so glad the Packers got that call at the end of the game. So Seattle couldn't be here to at least disrupt them a little bit, make it a little interesting. Because I'm not even sure it's going to be interesting. And I think this is going to be one of those classic blowouts, and you guys are probably going to not be paying attention at the bar, and you're going to be watching like DePaul and Seton Hall playing. I don't even know if they're playing, but you know what I'm saying. Like, how else are we going to entertain ourselves at this bar? Be on your phone looking around. Maybe you have a DFS lineup going or anything like that. But in any event, those are why I'm picking those teams to go to the Super Bowl. Do want to say one thing real quick about the Hall of Fame. Number one, Tom Flores not being in the Hall of Fame is an absolute joke. 2-time Super Bowl winner, first Latino quarterback in the NFL, first Latino head coach, won a pair of Super Bowls. Won more Super Bowls than John Madden. And you could say, like, well, he took over John Madden's teams. Yeah, there's a lot of coaches like that. He got them there. He relied on Jim Plunkett. Like, Stabler did not do that for him. Jim Plunkett was a reclamation project, and Tom Flores brought him in and made him a 2-time Super Bowl winner. Tom Flores deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Drew Pearson, oh God, that local TV station did him dirty. That was BS. Why string these guys along? Somebody should be along at some point in the process and be like, bro, you're not getting in. Don't print up t-shirts. Don't invite your family over. Go to Six Flags that day. Don't go do this. It's an absolute travesty. And never, you know what? And I, honestly, as somebody who grew up in Southern California for most of my life, I don't appreciate Paul Tagliabue being in the Hall of Fame. Now, I understand most commissioners do get in at some point. Listen, he was the commissioner who ushered in the era of free agency. Los Angeles was without an NFL team for more than 20 years because of Tagliabue. How many cities lost teams? Cleveland, Houston, St. Louis, like all these teams started under the watch of Paul Tagliabue. I would have kept him out for that. Nothing against the man personally, but because of that, you have to pay for that, Paul. I would not have allowed you in. But that's just my humble opinion. And these are all my humble opinions. You can agree or disagree. Please be civil. In any event, thank you so much. Big thanks to Mitch Hine for being the person who puts this together, gets this in your ear holes. And of course, you can find it Apple Pod, Google Play, Stitcher, the iHeart Radio app. Appreciate that. We'll come back next week. We'll do 2 more before the end of the season. Then we will probably have a season wrap up. And then hopefully we'll revamp it and have some big things coming for you in 2020. But do appreciate you coming in here. And of course, anybody who is watching this on YouTube, appreciate that as well. If you can like and subscribe and do all that stuff. And if you're coming in for Brandon's podcast and all that stuff and some of the collabs that we do, appreciate that as well. So good luck. Enjoy the games. And we will see you next week.